Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will be discussing about the classical synchronization problem. In the series of operating system lectures, we have already discussed about the cooperating and the competing processes. We have seen the various solutions to achieve the synchronization between the competing processes. Today we will be discussing about some of the problems or some of the synchronization problems. Those are the classical synchronization problems and the meaning of the classical is that every computer science synchronization problem will fit into either of these problems. So, the outline of today's lecture will be, we will first discuss about the cooperating and the competing processes. We will then discuss about the need of the synchronization. We will discuss about the classical synchronization problems, the semaphores. Then we will discuss about the solutions to readers, writers, bounded buffer and dynamic philosopher problems. To start with, let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed on the last terms. There are two processes P1 and P2. The P1 is generating some output and P2 is consuming that output. In that term, there should be a synchronization between P1 and P2. P1 may be fast, P2 may be slow, or P2 may be fast and P1 may be slow. So, there should be a synchronization between the two such that the balance between the P1 and the P2 process generation and the consumption is maintained. There is another kind of the problem which is known as the competing process. Competing process means there is a single resource for which there is a competition between the different processes. For example, there is one printer and there are several processes trying to execute that printer or use that printer. So, meaning of that will be that we should maintain a balance between, or we should maintain an order in between the competing processes such that the printer is used by one process only at a time. We are dealing with the cooperating and the competing processes. We can understand about the competing processes and the cooperating process with the help of the example of the IRCTC. The IRCTC let us say IRCTC opens its vacant seats for Tatkal booking at 10 a.m. Then there are several people who are trying to book the ticket. There are thousands of the peoples, let us say 1000 people are trying to book the ticket and the number of seats which are available is 50. So, they have a competition in between that whichever process or whichever person does it fast will get the ticket, the one who remains slow will not get the ticket. So, there is a competition between all those people for getting the ticket. For ticket booking, a process is generated for the booking and all the 1000 members are actually dealing with that process only, or for all the 1000 members which are trying to book the ticket, the operating system will be generating a process and through that process we will be accessing this seat numbers. So, let us say the seat numbers or number of seats is a common variable that is needed by all the processes. So, if we make the corrections or if we make the decrement in this count after every booking, like for 50 to 49, 40 to 49 to 48 and so on and so forth, this decrement should be made by one process only at a time. So, there are several processes, we have to create the record of all those processes and we should do some synchronization mechanism by which only one process can have the access to this seat number at a time, and only when one process books the ticket and decrements this count, the next process can come in. So, this is a critical section. Okay. We have discussed with this with the help of this count variable wherein there are two processes P1 and P2. One is trying to update the count by incrementing, another one is also trying to update the count by decrementing. So, you can say that or you can take the example of these two with the booking and cancellation of the ticket. So, if somebody is cancelling the ticket, the number of seats will be increased, and if somebody is booking a ticket, then the number of seats will be decreased. Since these two processes are trying to access to the count, at the same time this actually count or access to this count is a critical section. So, cooperating and competing processes will be using the common resource or common variables, and we should try to do some meaningful technique that will actually resolve the conflict between the cooperating and the competing processes. Now, we have also seen that access to the shared resource by the several processes can be said to be the critical section, or in the other sense, if we have a process, if we have a program let us say this one. So, this is the P1 process and this is the P2 process. The line of codes are there. The line of code where the shared variable is used, this actually is the critical section. Similarly, in the P2 process also, the line of code where we are using the shared variable, this is the critical section. So, in the entire program, this part is the only thing which is the critical section. Above this will be non-critical section, below this will be non-critical section. So, in a process there can be a non-critical section, then a critical section, again non-critical section, the critical section, and finally the non-critical section. It means in a process or in the program we can make use of the critical section several times. Okay. Though this is the basic theme about the synchronization, that the critical section has to be securely accessed. Securely means when one process is using the critical section, the other ones should be restricted from using the critical section. It means that we should apply some mechanism, some check before entering the critical section, and we should remove that check when we are exiting the critical section. So, this is the diagram that is showing you that how can we do so. So, this is the critical section. We should apply some conditions, some part of code in the entry section, and then we should apply some code in the exit section as well. For example, if we have applied a lock in the entry section, then we should release that lock. Now, this lock must have been applied after checking at the lock variable, and if the lock variable is being used by some other process or the lock is set by some other process, then this process should restrict. So, while entering the critical section, the lock is applied and the lock is released when exiting the critical section. So, we should apply some part of code before the critical section and below the critical section. So, this comes as a responsibility of the operating system to create a balance between the cooperating and the competing processes by applying some entry conditions, some exit conditions, so that the synchronization is maintained. Now, whatever solution we devise for achieving the synchronization, all those solutions must satisfy the 4 conditions, out of which the 2 conditions is said to be the primary conditions and the 2 are the secondary condition. For example, the mutual exclusion, obviously we try to achieve the mutual exclusion. The entire theory is started with the mutual exclusion. Our solution should guarantee that the mutual exclusion is there. The progress property, let us say there are 2 processes P1, let us say there are 4 processes P1, P2, P3, P4. They are the competing processes for accessing to the for the accessing to the critical section. Now, P1 process needs the entry in the critical section. It wants the execution of the critical section. So, it goes in. Let us say P2 process does not want the critical section execution, but it does not want others also to enter the critical section. You can take the example of a class which is a very frequently happening class, let us say of the operating system class, and today the students are not in a mood of attending the class. So, there is one person who is giving the threat to the other persons that no one should attend the class because that person is not interested. Okay? Or you can say that one person is not interested and he is restricting the other students also to attend the class. So, similar is the condition here. A process is not interested in entering the critical section, but it is restricting the others to enter the critical section. So, if this is the condition, we will say that the progress property is not satisfied. Okay? If a process is not interested in critical section, then it should not restrict the other process in entering the critical section, then the progress property is satisfied. The secondary condition is the bounded weight. Bounded weight mean, let us say there are 4 processes and we have created an order. All these 4 are interested in accessing the critical section. So, we have devised a mechanism of the round robin that first P1 should execute, then P2 should execute, then P3 should execute, then P4 should execute, and again this comes the turn of the P1. Now, if you are devising this algorithm, then we will say that the bounded weight is satisfied. So, there should be a restriction of the time after which a process is guaranteed to get the critical section. It should not happen that one process is interested in critical section and it keeps on executing. If P1 is executing the critical section again and again and again and again, it is not giving the chance to the other processes for the execution of the critical section, then we will say that the bounded weight is not satisfied. So, the bounded weight condition says that there should be a defined time after which a process is guaranteed to get the critical section. Then the architectural neutrality, meaning that whenever we are devising a solution to the critical section, that should be platform independent. Platform independence means it should not be dependent on the software that it is running, and it should not depend on the hardware it is running on which it is running. So, usually the software solutions are the accepted ones, they are architectural neutral, but the hardware solutions whenever we devise, they will be not satisfying the criteria of the architectural neutrality. So, these are the 4 conditions that the solution to the critical section should satisfy, out of which 2 are compulsory ones and 2 are optional ones. The mutual exclusion and progress property must be satisfied, but if bounded weight and architectural neutrality are satisfied, they are also welcome. Now, the semaphores, we have discussed about the semaphores earlier as well. The semaphore means a shared variables, and the access to the shared variable happens in the kernel mode only. It means we can make the changes in the value of these semaphores only in the kernel mode, and non-preemptive one means those semaphores are changed with the help of 2 functions known as wait and signal, but the wait and the signal function should be executing in the kernel mode and no preemption is possible. So, what does the wait do? It checks about the value of the semaphore. If the value of the semaphore is less than or equal to 0, it will keep waiting. It is something like knocking at the door continuously. So, while s is less than or equal to 0, this will keep waiting and will checking this condition, and if this value becomes 1, it means this is now the turn for entering into the critical section. The semaphore value is decremented and the critical section entry is allowed. So, wait function checks the value of the semaphore and decrements it. The signal function, after exiting the critical section, we can increment the value of this semaphore value, so that we are allowing the other process to enter the critical section. So, wait is also known as down, is also known as P, whereas signal is also known as down, up, not down, up and V. So, with the help of these semaphores, we will discuss the solutions of the classical synchronization problems. So, let us look at what are the critical section classical synchronization problems. These are readers writers problem, dining philosopher problem, producer consumer problem, sleeping barber problem. So, any of the synchronization problem in the computer system will fit in either of these. Okay. Now, let us look at the bounded buffer problem. What the bounded buffer is, you can think of a place where some biscuits are created, you can think of a factory where the biscuits are created. There is a person who is creating, or those who is cooking the baking the biscuit, not cooking, baking the biscuits and keeping on a conveyor belt, and these biscuit trays are reaching to the consumer which is actually packing these items and driving it forward. So, there is a conveyor belt on which the produced items are kept, and from the conveyor belt only the consumer is taking the biscuits or the biscuit trays. So, this is the place where someone is producing something and someone is consuming something. So, access to this conveyor belt should be mutually exclusive. So, this is the bounded buffer problem. So, now let us look at the solution to this bounded buffer problem. Let us say the size of the buffer is n. We are taking a lock name as the mutex. This is a semaphore lock and its value is initialized to 1. There are two variables, full and empty. Full means how many slots of the buffers are filled. So, if we have just started the experiment, the number of slots which will be full will be 0. There will be no item in the buffer. As the time progresses, there will be some items on the buffer. So, when we produce one item, we increment the full. When we produce another item, we again increment the full. Let us say there is another thing that is known as the empty. So, empty means how many empty slots are there in the buffer. So, if the size of the buffer is n, initially we will have n empty slots. When one item is produced, the number of empty slots will decrease. When another item is produced, this will again decrease by 1. Okay? So, now this is the producer consumer problem. You can see that whenever we have to access to the buffer, we have to ensure that it has to be done in the mutually exclusive way. When the producer is doing something, the consumer should stop, and when the consumer is doing something, then the producer should stop. Okay? So, both are using the conveyor belt, the example that we have taken. Both are using the buffer that we have, the example that we have taken. So, wait empty, what does that mean? If the producer process is there, it will produce some item, obviously it will produce some item. If the number of the empty slots are 1, 2, 3 or anything like this, then the produced item will be kept on the buffer. And if the number of empty slots are 0, then we cannot put any item on the buffer. So, simply that process will wait, the producer process will wait. So, that is why wait empty. Wait empty means if the empty is 0, let us wait. When the empty will become positive, then we will enter the critical section, or we will put the item or the produced item on the buffer. Since the access to the buffer is going to take place with the help of the lock, mutex lock. So, wait till the mutex lock, if this value is 1, then only enter the critical section, otherwise do not enter. After this, produced item will be kept in the buffer, and then we can signal mutex, because we have used the buffer now. The work with the buffer is over. If someone else want to use the buffer, here that process may do so. After this, since earlier let us say the I number of full slots were there, by producing an item, the number of full slots must have increased by 1. So, signal full, the signal does only the increment operation. So, signal does the plus plus operation, or the number of filled slots is increased by 1. Now, let us take the consumer process. The consumer process will consume an item. A consumer process can consume an item only if there are some slots in the buffer. If there is no slot fill in the buffer, then consumer cannot consume. So, the very first check that we should apply is on the number of full slots. If number of full slots are 0, item cannot be consumed. If the number of full slots are positive, then an item can be consumed. So, wait full. Wait full means full is a variable, let us decrement it while consuming an item. If it is 0, do not consume it, keep waiting. But if you have consumed an item, let us decrement it. If earlier 7 items were there and you are going to consume an item, the number of filled slots will reduce by 1 to 6. And now, the access to the critical section or the buffer has to be in the mutually exclusive way. Hence, we have applied a lock mutex, consume the item from the buffer, remove the item from the buffer, and then buffer's use has been completed. So, signal the mutex, so that the other process which is trying to access the critical section may do so. And then signal empty. Signal empty means by removing an item from the buffer, the number of empty slots will increase by 1. So, signal empty. So, this is the consumer process which is first checking the full and then applying a lock using the buffer, then signals the mutex so that the buffer can be used by someone else and increases the number of empty slots. Now, let us deal with the readers writers problem. Readers writers problem is pretty straightforward. It is like there is a database and that database needs to be accessed by the several readers. For example, this is a result database. So, if this is the result database, then let us say CBSE has declared the result. So, there will be several aspirants who will be trying to see their results. So, they are actually seeing the same database or same table value. It means that we are allowing the shared read operations. We are allowing the shared read operations. Let us say the read operation has started, but some error has been seen by the programmer and the database needs to be updated. So, obviously, all the read operations will have to be terminated, then only the write operations can perform. So, when we are doing the write operations, the reading should not be there. Similarly, when we are reading the things, the writing should not be there. So, we have to restrict this. The readers writers problem is suggesting that only when the readings are performed, restrict the writing, when the writings are performed, restrict the reading. But simultaneous read operations can be allowed. So, this is the readers writers problem. So, we will have two processes, one is the reader process, another one will be the writer process. First, let us deal with the readers process. So, what will the reader process do? It will use the semaphore, or reader or writer both. Read write will be semaphore, this is initialized to 1. We are restricting the write operations by this. The semaphore mutex is initialized to 1 and there is a read count which is not a semaphore, it is just a simple variable. So, read count is initialized to 0, it shows that how many read operations are there currently. Whenever a read operation will take place, this will be incremented by 1. So, now first the writer process, what will the writer process do? It will just check if the read write semaphore's value is 1 or 0. If it is 0, it means already someone is writing. So, do not try to write, keep waiting until the other writing operation gets completed. So, wait till read write semaphore value comes 1. When it comes 1, it means no one is reading, no one is writing. Enter the critical section and do the write operations. And when the write operations complete, signal read write, it means my writing has got completed, I am letting the critical section free for other operations, for other read and the write operations. So, read write value must have become 0 from 1 to 0 with the wait read write operation. So, this needs to be brought to 1 again by the signal operation here in this code. Now, let us deal with the readers problem. Readers problem is a bit tough to understand. Let us say that the reader wants to read, or reader process wants to initiate the read operation. So, first it should ensure that the writings are not there. Okay. First it should ensure that the writing is not there, but it is done only in the first read operation. Okay. Let us see this. So, we are doing in the mutually exclusive way the all these computations. First, if this is the reader process, obviously the read count will be incremented by 1. If there were 0 read operations, that should come to 1 now. If there were 7 read operations, let us increment it to 8 now. Now, if the read count is 1, it means this is the first read operation, then we should restrict the write. Since the reading has started, writing should not take place. So, that is why wait till the read write. Read write is the semaphore value. Now, this semaphore value is 1, then the reading can be allowed. If the semaphore value is 0, we will wait. So, if the read write value is 1, we will bring it to 0 so that no other writings can be performed since one reading operation has started. So, this entire thing is taken into the mutually exclusive way, so that all these 3 statements run in the mutually exclusive way. If the preemption takes place in between, we will not have a better solution. Okay. So, reading is performed. After reading operation, we should decrement the read count. Okay. We not only have a responsibility of decrementing the read count, but we also have a responsibility of allowing the write operations also if it is required to. So, let us decrement the read count. If the read count has become to 0, it means this was the only read operation, all the read operations have got completed. Now, the read count value is 0, it means no reading is required to be performed now. It means if the writing is required, that should be started. So, that is why we are signaling the read write. So, the read write semaphore value which was brought to 0 by the wait operation, let us do it to 1, or let us convert it to 1, so that other write operations can be allowed. So, all these 3 statements should run in the mutually exclusive way. The preemption will actually destroy the solutions credibility. So, all these things should be mutually exclusive. Fine. So, this is the readers problem. So, we are restricting the reading operations when the writings are performed. When the readings have completed, the writings are allowed by the setting up of read write count to 1, read write semaphore to 1. Now, let us discuss the variation of the readers writers problem. It is very simple. Readers priority and the writers priority means when writings are performed, writing should be restricted for the reading operation, we are giving the priority to the readings, and when writings are performed, the reader should if there is a read operations continuing, we should stop that or we should restrict that. For example, if the ticket booking is required, then the inquiry at the IRCT should be stopped there. So, we are giving the priority to the writer process there in the IRCTC. Now, this is the last problem of the classical synchronization problem, wherein there are 5 philosophers, those who are sitting in a circular table, and let us number these philosophers 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and these philosophers can either be in the thinking state or they may be in the eating state. They are sitting in the round table and there are 2 forks, one on the left side and one on the right side. So, let us number these forks 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So, a process which wants to enter the critical section or the philosopher which want to enter in the eating state must have both the forks, one on the left and one on the right. So, you can see that if 0 number philosopher enters the critical section or enters in the eating state, then he must be occupying these 2 forks. If he is occupying these 2 forks 0 and 1, then neither 4 can enter the critical section or nor 1, means 4 and 1 cannot enter the eating state, but 3 can, because 3 has the access to these 2 forks. So, P3 can enter. So, 2 philosopher can enter in the critical section at the same time, in the eating section at the same time, but not more than 2, because left and right both the forks are required for entering into the critical section. So, what is required here, that the ith philosopher should have the access to, like this, ith philosopher should have access to the fork on the left and fork on the right. So, if this is ith process, then the fork on the left is I and the fork on the right is I plus 1. If philosopher is 0, the left fork is 0 and right fork is 1, I plus 1. If this is 1, left fork is 1 and right fork is 2. If it is 2, the left fork is 2 and right fork is 3. If this is 3, the left fork is 3 and right fork is 4. If this is 4 number philosopher, left part is 4, right one is not 5, it is 0. So, we should apply a modulus with the 5, which will give you a 0 for philosopher number 4 and the other value which is required for the other philosophers. So, now what will be the solution of this process or solution of this problem, that we are taking 5 chopsticks or 5 fork, and these are the semaphore, all the values are initialized to 1. The process I or philosopher I which wants to enter the critical section should have the chopstick I and chopstick I plus 1 mod 5 both has 1. If both are 1, then only it can enter the eating state, and once it is releasing the chopsticks, it means it has finished the eating process, it should release these chopsticks so that it becomes 1. for the other processes and it enters the thinking state. So, both the chopsticks means I and mod I plus 1 mod 5 both should be available. So, there is one more problem, sleeping barber problem. I think that you should go the solution of the sleeping barber problem by yourself. So, this is the reference for this lecture, the operating system concepts by Silberscheidt and Galvin, and the Java point. I have taken the diagrams from Java point. Thank you, students.